Hello and welcome to the magic of fishing. Today you join me on a sultry summer's evening and I'm back on the banks of the beautiful River Wey in Surrey, and it's what we may come to call my home stretch because it's just a 10-minute walk from my new front door in Guildford, a house that Rachel and I moved to with the kids back in March this year. And despite having lived so close to this new stretch of water between Guildford and Godalming, I've still only fished it the once. And if you remember a video from back in July, you'll know I had a fantastic time, a really sort of short magical trip with some simple float gear and a few maggots, catching plenty of small silvers, roach, dace, chublets, even the odd gudgeon. And yeah, it was a nice session and a nice way to experience this piece of river for the first time. It's somewhere that I've fished for many years, ever since I moved down to Surrey from my native Sheffield as a young man. But this particular stretch is somewhere I've only really walked around, and there's some quite stunning scenery around here. There's the navigable part of the river, which is where I'm fishing today, which is canalised in sections and tends to be much wider and deeper than the more natural sections of the river, which tends to be a bit more windy and shady and just a bit more special looking in terms of the potential fishing on offer. But as I say, this is a stretch that I'm only just getting to know, and this will be only my second time fishing this home stretch. It's funny, that last video from July, it's August now as I film this, got some really positive feedback. Quite a few of you saying in the comments that it was your favourite video yet on the magic of fishing in the 2 years that I've been making videos in the name of my book. And I don't know, it's quite surprising in a way. I've made videos in some really exotic places, Thailand, and I've fished many of England's famous rivers now, many more still to fish. But you know, I've been to the Trent, I've been to the Hampshire Avon, the Dorset Stour, where else, the Wye more recently. And yeah, I've been lucky enough to catch some really special fish during some of those sessions. So it was really surprising but touching to hear some of you say that last video on the way was your favourite so far. And you know, the biggest fish was just a few ounces, but the whole point of my book, and indeed the channel that takes its name from that book, is to celebrate the little things that make fishing so special, so magical, for me at least, and I'm sure for many of you, whether that's the nature, the beauty of the water that we're fishing, the different seasons, the weathers that we experience when we're out and about, the people we meet, the stories that we create and tell and hear from other anglers. That's what makes fishing so special for me. And I suppose that last video was a bit of a tribute to that and to this river that I've loved fishing for the last 25 years. It helped me feel settled and get used to living down south once I'd made that big move from Yorkshire. So it is a special river for me, and I'm glad you enjoyed that video. I think just like that last one, this video will be short, sweet, and probably not involve any big fish, but it's actually been inspired by one of my viewers, and his name is Martin, aka Felgate, and he's up in Leeds. And this morning I received a very generous package from him, a nice little note and 3 handmade perch bobber style floats, one of which you can see I'm now using, and I'm fishing it just off the rod tip down in the deep slow margins of this river. Very simple fishing. I've bought a tub of worms, some ground bait, a few red maggots, and the ground bait and the maggots are really just to try and get any small roach or rudd on the feed if that might help attract the attention of a big old stripey. But although the Wey is known to contain some really good perch, and I've seen some photos from this local stretch, I'm not expecting to catch any this evening. It's a very short session. Location is half the battle with those fish, and although I've had one or two anglers offering to take me around tonight, I just fancied coming to a few swims really close to home to make the most of the time I've got. And I'm actually fishing just below a big metal railway bridge. There's perhaps something romantic about fishing below a railway bridge, like something you might see on a postcard from the 50s or 60s, but it may be quite noisy at times. There's already been a few trains rumbling past either way, and being the navigable part of the river that I've chosen to fish this evening, there's no end of foot traffic either. There's lots of walkers, dogs, families out enjoying the weekend, bikes, and of course plenty of boats and kayaks and paddleboarders out on the water as well. It's not just us anglers that can enjoy the river, but I've crept over to the far bank to 2 or 3 swims that I've had my eye on since I moved here. Nice deep margins, and I've got a sleeper rod out in the middle of the river, again with a lobworm on. Here comes one of those trains. Forgive the noise. Great Western Railways. So I've got a sleeper rod out in the deepest water in the middle of the river with a big lobworm on, and then I'm just fishing this lovely little float that I've been sent by Martin down in the margins with a little dendrobina worm, and I've put a bit of this ground bait mix in a couple of swims further downstream as well, so if there's no action here or if I just fancy a change, we can move down, and I've probably got 2 or 3 hours before it gets dark. And it will be a bit like, with all this public noise and traffic around, it will be like being back on the park ponds of Sheffield. Bit of boyhood style fishing, and if that doesn't put a twinkle back in your eye, I don't know what will. Oh, something's interested. Lovely to see the first bite on that float. Just dragging it towards the margin. Is it going to go? It is. Oh, and we've got one. Not a record shaker, but it's the target species. A tiny little stripey, but so nice to see that float bobbing around and then sinking under just like it was meant to. And we have finally had a bit of rain in the last week or two, but you can see how clear the water is still in this deeper navigable stretch. There's a good 7-8 foot of water where I'm fishing, and that's what I've been told by 1 or 2 friends is the best bet for perch on this stretch. Keep it close to the margins. Bit of chop worm down there, a few maggots, try and get the silvers interested, and then a nice big lobworm on the hook. Nice to get off the mark with a tiny stripey, and again just fantastic to see that little perch bobber move about. It's obviously not the most sensitive way of fishing in terms of bite indication, but it's very traditional. It takes me right back to the sessions where my imagination was fired up with my granddad, and the buoyant nature of these floats, these cork-bodied floats, and Martin used a nice wire stem, thin wire stem that makes them almost self-cocking. I've just got one number 6 as a telltale shot down there near the hook length. But that buoyant nature allows you to do a couple of things. You can hold back hard on rivers. You know, if you're fishing the margins, you can fish a tight line from your rod tip down to the float like I am at the moment. And you can also lay on if you want to fish the float down below the bait, and if you've got a bit of shot on the deck, kind of strep pegging style, you'll be able to hold back with that static bait on the deck. And even if you've got a bit of flow, that buoyant float won't go under unless a fish picks up the bait. And you know, we're not fishing for really sensitive, shy biting species like roach here. You know, perch are pretty aggressive predators, and yeah, it's just a nice change, particularly after doing some really special fishing on famous rivers like the Wye. You've probably seen one or both of those recent videos where I bagged up on chub. I hope you have anyway, check them out if not. But beautiful, beautiful river in the Herefordshire countryside, complete peace and quiet, unlike Surrey where you've got, you know, planes going over from Gatwick and Heathrow, and say the great British public out and about enjoying the river. But yeah, beautiful, peaceful spot and lots of fish to be caught. And then of course I enjoyed a couple of days on the Trent, which was really tricky fishing, low, clear river like so many of the rivers around the country this summer. But again, if you've seen that video, some very special captures right at the end of the session, which sent me home with a massive grin on my face. And of course, if I could do that kind of fishing every week, I probably would, but I can't. It's not realistic, and most of us are limited to fishing, you know, local waters close to where we live. And I'm lucky enough to have a really pretty piece of river within walking distance now. So in a way, it's nice. Oh, and there's the float going under again. Missed it. Shot under on the lobworm there. Let's try again. There was no bobbing around that time, just vanished while I was chatting to you. Oof. I hope I've not missed a biggie there. Actually pulled the rod tip round a bit as well. Wow, that was an aggressive bite. Just happened to look round as it went. But yeah, this is, I suppose, simple, convenient, but still very enjoyable boyhood style fishing. And after, you know, a couple of time consuming, quite costly trips to other parts of the country, it is really, really nice just to walk out my own front door, fish a piece of river that I want to get really familiar with, get to know intimately throughout all the different seasons and lots of different swims, and target it for different kinds of fish, you know, whether it's trying the pellet and boilie approach for, oh, there's another bite on the worm. I have lost my touch, folks. That shot under. Tell you what, the worm is masking the hook a little bit. Just adjust that. Let's get him in again. I did not expect this many bites, or not quite as quickly. That's again the beauty of fishing with simple baits like worm and maggot. You don't know what you're going to get bites from, but just about every fish that swims will be interested in them. A bit further out I was. Let's see whether we can hit one of these bites. But yeah, it's lovely just to be back doing something really simple. And as much as I love those big trips and I love sharing them with you, they are time consuming. They take me away from my family, and you know, there's a lot of effort required in terms of packing, unpacking, sorting all the gear afterwards, the accommodation, the bait. So it's just sometimes just the tonic you need to come down to a little river or a pond with a float rod and see what's possible without any great expectations. And yeah, you seem to enjoy it too. There's another little dip. There it goes. I'll give it a bit of time this time. Sailing away downriver. Is it going to go? Yay! We've got him this time. That's a bit of a lovely feeling after missing a couple. I think I'd just about risk swinging him out, but he's a little bit better than the previous fish and he's wolfed it. Sometimes with big lobworm baits, if you strike too soon you miss them. But clearly with perch being voracious feeders, if you let the bite develop, sometimes they can have taken it right down, so you do need a disgorger with you. But that's a lovely little River Wey stripey on the lobworm. Just getting himself reorientated in the roots. That's a natural environment for a perch. So let's get another juicy lobworm nicked on in the saddle. A super spade, microbarb super spade, size 10, so probably could go bigger with worms of this size, but I've got some dendrobeans to try as well, so I didn't want to go too large on the hook size. I'm just going to keep dropping that in the same spot, probably about a foot over the depth, with say a number 6 telltale shot just above the 4-pound hook length. So as soon as a perch or any other fish picks up that bait and moves that shot, that's what gives you those first few tremors on the float, which get that heart rate going and the adrenaline pumping. You've no idea whether it might be another 1 ounce, 2 ounce wasp of a perch, or big stripey, or a chub, could be anything. Just had a few pulls on the sleeper rod that's on a big lob as well. It's amazing how and somehow keep an eye on a float just in front of me or down to the right, and then this tip is down under this overhanging alder down to my left. But it's just something in us anglers, isn't there, that tells you when you've got a bite. It's some kind of sixth sense. Just look round at the right time to see it pull round a couple of times. And now we've got the noise of a helicopter too. Planes, trains and automobiles this evening. But it still doesn't spoil my enjoyment of being by the water just for a few stolen hours before it's back to work in the morning. It's amazing how much changes on and around the river in just a few weeks. So it was mid-July last time I fished this stretch. Real, well, end of a heat wave. Still high 20s I think on that day. The river was painfully low. I've had a touch of water in since then, but much cooler now. Probably mid-20s, low 20s at most today. There's another train approaches. Fast one. Oh, and now the sleeper rod has gone. Hey, we got him. It's all action as well as all noise today. Now, what is this? I said we were getting a few bites, a few pulls on it, and I think it's a a better perch. No, it's not, it's a little pike. I told you never know what you're going to get on a lobworm. That is proof he won't have helped this swim. And he's just escaped to... I thought we were into a proper perch there, but it's all excitement. Yeah, bit of me off. So we'll get that set up and keep an eye on the float in the meantime, but action-packed start. So what was I saying before that little jackpike rudely interrupted me? I think I was making the point that it was July last time I fished this piece of river and made that video, and we're now in August as I film this, and back then the local fields were smothered in meadow sweet, real beautiful feathery cream, lightly scented flower of midsummer, and it seems this area is just right for them. The water meadows around the River Wey, they were carpeted in meadow sweet, but just a few weeks later they're largely gone. Still a few blooms left, but as with every week in summer, there's a new time for new plants, different blooms to have their time in the sun, and seen some lovely patches of hemp agrimony, some watermint in flower, goldenrod, really stunning yellow goldenrod in bloom near home, purple loosestrife, all kinds of wild flowers, and it's just a pleasure and a privilege to have that on my doorstep and be able to see all the changes that go on week by week, day by day. It's high summer, it's August, but it's also starting to feel like the season of mellow fruitfulness. You know, some of the trees are coming into fruit, and there's big juicy blackberries all around on the brambles. I've just had another little bounce on that perch bobber, and it's been somewhere I've walked lots with Bunny in her early weeks with us, and with Rachel and some of the kids, but to actually get to fish here as well, that's really special. Bees buzzing past, just a light breeze, but yeah, very warm summer's evening, and we've got a couple of hours ahead of us. See whether we can add to these small perch and that rogue jack. And while I'm sat waiting for the next bite and having a little chat with you, as always, I'm reminded of something that really has made me chuckle in the last few days or weeks. It's a funny thing, but a number of people, several people, have now told me that they find my voice really relaxing or calming, and at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 people have said that they sometimes put the magic of fishing on when they're trying to get to sleep and they're having a bad night's sleep, and it really helps them drift off. And at first I thought, oh my God, am I that boring? That people are using me to fall asleep to, but those I've spoken to have reassured me that it's more about the calming nature of the videos rather than the soporific nature of my voice. But the funny thing is, I said to Rachel, do you think my videos might be a bit boring if I'm sending all these people off to dreamland? And she said, oh, I've put you on once or twice while you've been away, and I've needed a bit of comfort as I drift off to bed. So I'm discovering this whole new side to the channel, and I said perhaps I need to start a new one called The Magic of Sleep. But if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and achieve some fishing entertainment and help a few people drift off to sweet dreams with the same channel, then I'm happy. I'll take that. And yeah, I've certainly used audiobooks and all kinds of things to try and help me drift off when I've been particularly stressed through work or stuff that's been going on in life. And back in the days when I was far too busy to go to do much fishing, you know, listening to a nice calming voice or a story or something like that could often help me drift off, to be fair, so it's not so unusual. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you're someone else who likes to have a kip or drift off for a nap with a magic of fishing video on in the background. Always get a satisfying plop. A perch bobber going in. It was one of the very first floats my granddad taught me to use on the River Derwent in Derbyshire. Growing up, when we were fishing for trout or grayling with a worm, used to get them from his local barber shop, which also sold a bit of fishing tackle on the side in Woodseats in Sheffield. Oh, and I'd beg him for a new float, might get one, I don't know, every other month maybe. Broke my heart when I'd lose one. Really exciting gift to get. And it still was a nice exciting thing to open in the post this morning. Good old-fashioned snail mail. You don't get too much in the post these days other than bills, so that was a nice change. Thank you again, Martin, for thinking of me. It's time to try another of the spots a bit further downstream, so I'm making my way back out through the nettles, back onto the meadow. And certainly looks like one or two other anglers have been here before, but back down another overgrown jungle of a path. Still very close to the bridge, as you can see and probably hear. Lots of the invasive Himalayan balsam here. But another nice, quiet, deep looking margin. Put the rod down, go and get the rest of my gear. It's funny, but the bridge to me has got a bit of an American feel about it, a bit of a railroad bridge, and it reminds me of a scene, one of my favourite scenes in one of my favourite films called Stand By Me. I think a Rob Reiner directed film, and based on a Stephen King short story called The Body, about a group of young teenage lads in 1950s America who go off to try and find a dead body of a local boy who's apparently being killed by a train, and they get caught out on the big bridge. A bit bigger than this one, but there are similarities. Right, I am in place, and the second spot, and the sleeper rod is chucked a little way downstream, again with a lobworm on. And before I sort the float rod out, I thought I might get a little snack. Very handy and tasty. Well, I wasn't feeling it in that Second swim, no clear bites, and with worm you normally know fish are about fairly quickly, so I've moved down to a third and final swim where we'll finish this short evening session. To my right is an old gnarly willow, and then it looks like there was some kind of platform or mooring or some kind of structure here some years ago, but it's this slack down here. If it's not too snaggy on the bottom, that looks really perchy to me, and then I can put the sleeper rod down under the willow to the right, and it looks like the National Trust, which runs or owns this land, has done some tree work in the past as well, but perhaps try the float just under that stump as well. It does look very perchy, and again, we're not a million miles from the bridge still. Oh, we've already got a bite. Give it a little bit of time. Oh, missed him. First cast, trying just with a dendrobina to begin in the third and final swim, and it was a bite first cast. Just juddered a couple of times and slowly started moving away. Could have been another crayfish, but felt like a fish bite, that to me. Light's really dropping with these cloudy skies. Sometimes, folks, you just gotta laugh. Looked unmissable, that bite, but all I've caught is a tree. Struck so hard, expecting it to be a fish. It's gone straight up into the willow. Let's very carefully get this out, because I do not want to lose the float, and try again. Well, folks, rig safely retrieved from the willow tree. Quick check of the sleeper rod. Another dendrobina on the hook. I'm going to gently swing that rig out into this little reed fringe slack again. That's a couple of bites in the first two casts. The light really is falling fast. I'd say we've got another 45 minutes perhaps, maybe an hour tops. That's the one downside with float fishing, of course, is when that light really starts going, you have to pack up unless you're using a beta light, a chemical light. Is that another bite? It is, you know. Come on, surely. Not snagged again. Oh. As you can see, the light has gone fast, but that seems to have brought about one or two more bites, and the last couple have sailed away nicely, and I've just struck into a bit of a snag down there. I think there's some kind of a big old branch that's holding, probably from when that tree was sorted out, but it's holding the fish, but they're also taking the bait through, and if I'm not hooking the fish, I'm getting snagged, so time to try and get another rig out. No problem that time. Very atmospheric with another train rumbling by in the gloom. I'm not giving up just yet. Here we go again. A few little bounces. Floats moving away. Can we get a last fish on the last cast? Giving this time to develop. Is there still something there? I barely see in the dark. funnily enough, it's pulled the float over towards that big stump that overhangs the water. But the movement has stopped. Should I have struck then? I think there's part of me, the little boy inside me, just enjoys seeing the bite so much on this old school style handmade float. Perhaps should have struck then. The bait is still there. It's the second last cast. Had to be, didn't it? By the light of the head torch, I can just about make out that float. Again, a normal float I'd probably be struggling, but because of the buoyant cork body that's hovering just below the surface, you get those classic rings coming off when it starts moving. Well folks, as you can see, I have fished right up into the darkness, or certainly by the time I've packed up and I'm finally ready to say my goodbyes, it is pitch black and you can only see me thanks to a bit of torchlight. But that tells me the magic of fishing is well and truly alive inside this angler, and I hope this very basic, simple video without many fish, without any big fish in it, has been a little reminder to you that it's this kind of fishing that really can reawaken that spark if you are feeling a bit jaded. But even if, like me, you're completely addicted and in love with fishing just like you were when you were young, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks again to Martin for sending me the floats. I've really enjoyed using one of them this evening, and I hope you all stay safe, sleep tight, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon on the bank.